If you learn to read your cat's litter box, you gain access to one of the most powerful daily health screenings you will ever get, completely free. And most people throw that away. Most cat parents think that health monitoring starts at the vet, but in reality, it starts at home every single day. And the litter box is not just a tool that you can use to keep things clean and tidy. It's also a tool to make you aware of changes that count. So the litter box shows you patterns before problems become diagnoses. Let that sink in for a second. So the reason why I am talking about this topic this week is that something inspired me. A dear friend of mine asked in a pet center community if it would be a good idea to train her fabulous 3 kittens to use the human toilet. So she has 3 beautiful, beautiful kittens, and she apparently her husband suggested this. He has seen the advertisement on the internet, I think, and they were fascinated by this idea, so they asked in the community what people thought of that. And people squealed in delight, thinking that this was just so cute, so unique to see a cat use the human toilet for their business. And while I agree that it would be a very endearing sight and also a great party trick potentially when guests come around, it comes with some complications. And I can't believe that one of the reasons people found this would be a great idea is actually convenience. How can people not like to scoop the litter box? I love scooping the litter box, and I will tell you why. So, in all honesty, years ago, a lovely friend of mine saw this human toilet training system, and she actually suggested it to me for my soul cat at the time because he was such a special chap, and he certainly would have learned. But thinking about his senior years, when aging and mobility changes and other issues come up, I was so glad that I had a normal, plain, simple, natural litter box to play with, which gave my cat the dignity to perform a behavior that was really important for his well-being, in fact, and that I didn't make it any more difficult than it needed to be. Convenience should never cost your cat comfort or cost you the chance to get important health insights. So let's look at what cats need from a litter box from their perspective. They need definitely easy access at all ages. Cats are not going to be kitten forever. Kittens are so cute and so playful and so agile, but cats get older, and at all ages they need to have that litter box to be the most accessible thing for them. They're actually doing us a favor using a litter box that we dedicate for them to have as a toilet. So we should be very, very grateful that they easily usually go in there and do their business in there and make our life so much easier. So yes, we have to think of all the ages and all the different phases of the life of a cat, and definitely you want easy access at all ages, as I said before. So they also want a fine sand-like substrate. The finer the better, because it's nicer on the paws and on the paw pads, and especially when they grow a little bit older, cats get very sensitive in their paws, and so it's important to offer them a substrate that is natural, that they can dig in, because this is their natural behavior. In the wild, they would cover their outputs so that a predator wouldn't see them as a prey and wouldn't find them because of the smell that was not buried. So they bury everything under sand and under earth and soil. So in this case, yes, they need a nice substrate to do their business successfully and feel that they have accomplished something good. So they also don't need any artificial fragrance. Please do not use any artificial fragrance in your cat's litter box particularly. You shouldn't use any fragrances around the house in general, because this is very toxic to their systems. And if you have cats with allergies or with other issues, I would really suggest that you check the fragrances that you use or the chemicals that you use in the house for cleaning, and you maybe turn to natural products instead, particularly candles. Candles are very toxic when they contain artificial fragrances. These artificial fragrances contain phthalates, and they are very minuscule compounds that they get into their nose, obviously by breathing, but they also get, and then obviously through the lungs, they mix with the blood in the further away part of the lungs, and they mix with the blood and they reach even the brain. There are pieces of plastic coming from these artificial fragrances that accumulate in the brain, not only of our cats, but also ours. So it is much better not to use fragrances in any way. But also in the litter box in particular, we don't want to use fragrances because cats need to feel that this is a natural place and fragrances that smell to us, and we can actually feel a scent. Cats smell it 100 times more depending on what fragrance you are using or how strong it is. They will smell it so much more than we do. And so for them, it will be very, very unnatural to get into a place that smells artificially. And they might decide not to use the litter box because you have decided to put a fragrance in there, hoping to deodorize the whole experience. But unfortunately, it is not something that we should do with cats, so that they have some comfort. We want to leave this as comfortable as possible for them and as natural as possible to their natural behavior. And also, and since we are at it, don't use any liners in that litter box. Just wash it every week. And I always keep some of the litter. I don't necessarily change the whole thing because I use natural clumping litter. And this is fantastic because every time there is something in there, I can remove it very successfully and it stays clean for a very long time. But when I do have to wash it, I transfer that litter somewhere else if it's still clean. And if it's not clean, I keep a little bit of that litter so that I can add it back when I put the new litter in, because they can still smell themselves in there. So I don't take away the whole smell that they have scented the litter with. And of course, it smells fresh and it smells clean, but I use only castile soap and very natural things like hot water and the steam, for example. So when you wash your litter box and then you put it back fresh, you won't need any liners. And liners are uncomfortable to cat's paws because when they try to dig in there, they catch the liners are going to break, you get dirt in the litter box anyway, you have excess plastic to dispose of, and it's just a mess. Liners just get messy with the litter and it just doesn't work for cats. They don't generally like liners at all. Also, it's important to give them some space to dig and cover because cats come in different sizes. There are some cats that are naturally very petite and very small, and there are other cats that are massive and giant cats. And so depending on which size you have as your companions, well, you want to adapt the litter box accordingly by definitely having a litter box that is much bigger than your cat and where your cat can turn around comfortably, where your cat can stand or can sit comfortably, so that there isn't an impression of feeling really, really crammed in a box. In fact, if it's open, it would be even better. Open or closed, it depends on the cat really and on your preferences, but it needs to be as airy and accessible as possible, as we said, whether it is open or closed. And most cats prefer an open litter box, especially in a multi-cat household, but or in case there is a particularly busy household in general. Single cats and also cats who love some privacy, because we do have cats that actually do love some privacy, can do well with a closed litter box. But even when it's closed, we want to have that opening being very easy to access and very airy, and we don't want to create an environment that feels constrictive and small and cramped to go into. So let's look at why daily scooping is actually a health practice. So first of all, you should be scooping that litter box clean a minimum of once a day. Twice a day would be even better. I have been in people's houses where, to take care of their cats, where that litter box was scooped. I mean, I'm going to say it here, something like once a week. And I cringed, because would you use your toilet in the house, if it wasn't flushed for a week? I don't think so. Maybe you would use it still, but it would be a terrible experience. So you want to create a really positive experience for your cat so that they choose to continue going into the litter box. And so scoop the litter box every day. Besides the fact that it's more hygienic for a cat to use the litter box and more pleasant for a cat to use a litter box that has been cleaned once a day at least, well, this is also a health practice, because when you get into the habit to be present and intentional with this, you learn to spot trends. And if you feel a bit icky about handling your cat's poo and pee, well, I offer a reframe here. So I imagine that you are on a beach playing with sand, like when you were a kid, carefree and enjoying some free time, which when you have a kid, you have a lot of, apparently. And you are finding treasures, because actually treasures is what your cats are gifting you, actually. So you should be so lucky that your cat allows you to inspect both their number ones and their number twos so regularly without objection. So you can spot size changes or frequency changes or changes in texture, changes in timing, changes of color, and you can even spot traces of blood in the urine if they, or maybe in the stools if they are apparent enough, and this can be a really good warning sign of course, it is a sign of some issue that might be arising, but it is a warning sign that allows you to act early and to act on it. So you can spot also both physical and psychological discomfort when instead of the litter box, your cat chooses something else entirely. And of course, this can give you a clue. Of course, if you train your cat to use the human toilet, as fun as it is, you are putting a layer of complexity when it comes to doing the detective work that is necessary to understand why on earth your cat has decided to not use the litter box at some point. So I'm not suggesting, of course, that you become absolutely paranoid about every clump that you clean in the litter box. But what I'm saying is that if you see a bit of a shift in habits or in outputs, for example, this means a lot. And it means that you can catch whatever is going on early. You can ask the right questions, and they can save you a lot of heartache. So when we focus on urine clumps, if you use a clumping litter, that would be best, particularly a natural litter, that would be best. And you can really see the size difference. And so if you see bigger clumps over time, that can prompt you to check maybe kidney function, or to check if the thyroid is all right, and to check if your cat has no issues with diabetes, for example. So at this point, you might want to do blood work to have a look at what might be going on. And then, for example, if you start seeing more clumps during the day, or maybe little clumps spread around the litter box instead of one clump, that maybe that's the habit that your cat has for a long time, and all of a sudden you see little clumps spread around the litter box, well, that tells you that maybe there is a urinary issue going on. So there are lots of things that a litter box can tell you. It's a little bit like when those people that read the bottom of the coffee cups and they tell you the future. This is more or less the same. I read litter boxes, and it is very satisfying and it is very telling. So I'm telling you that there are so many things that can tell you so many things. So for example, when you see your cat with different timings and using the litter boxes more frequently, or maybe vocalizing in the litter box, and paying attention to these things is really, really important. And I know that if you are a person that has had a cat, particularly a male cat, that has had urinary problems and maybe has blocked and had a blocked urethra at some point and couldn't pee, you know exactly what I mean when you get really worried and you become really obsessed with watching if your cat goes to pee, when he goes to pee, how often he goes to pee, and how big the pee is, and etc., etc. Because obviously the danger of not being able to pee is so important and so strong and so sudden, because within a few hours it becomes a true emergency, that you definitely become obsessed after you've gone through that once. But what I'm saying is that sometimes you can catch these things earlier, before they happen, and this is just because you are paying attention to whatever you find in the litter box. So definitely don't discard it. I mean, discard it, but don't discard it, if you know what I mean. So when it comes to stools, for example, things that are often missed when you see hard stools or dry stools, depending on the diet that you're feeding, obviously this can be, the consistency of the stools can be very different. But if it's something that has changed all of a sudden, and you can see a trend, a change in trend, and you can see that there is a level of dryness or volume that is not normal, all of a sudden you can catch this early and maybe prevent megacolon, maybe prevent a very strong level of constipation, and maybe you prevent a vet visit and a lot of money spent trying to unblock your cat because maybe they have become so constipated and maybe they have an obstruction. So you can see these things early, and you can act on it, and you can make a little plan to get them to go to the bathroom easier, for example, easily. And for example, if you, on the other side, you see loose stools, well, you can then ask yourself if there's something going on with their diet, or if they have an issue with their gut, for example, or if they are not well. Maybe it's there are lots of conditions that obviously diarrhea is a very non-specific symptom, meaning that it can be caused by several conditions, but still it gives you a clue, and it gives you a clue that is very important and very useful when you then observe other clinical signs. So you have these clues and these things that you can read in the litter box, and then of course you're going to look at your cat, how they behave during the day, or how if they are alert, or if they are eating, and etc., etc. So there are other things that you're looking at, but this is one of the pieces of the puzzle, and this can be so telling about what might be happening. And then of course, if you see, for example, an increase in frequency, that can prompt to you to think that maybe it is IBD and you need to act in a different way. So all these things can tie to, for example, hydration levels, or stress, or maybe gut health issues with organs, or maybe needing to look into the diet or into some supplements that your cat might need to function better. So why do proactive cat parents usually do better? Because they don't wait for emergencies, and they don't panic at every change, and they notice things early by, for example, therefore they ask better questions, of course, when there is an issue, and by paying attention to all these things, as I was saying. So because monitoring is actually an active skill. And it is very different from the wait and see approach that traditional medicine often uses. It is more of an active skill, as I said, that you apply daily, basically. And you don't have to leave all the monitoring to the vets. In fact, your vets can help you and will help you with hopefully great diagnosis and diagnostics, and if your cat needs surgery, for example, but they don't have time to monitor what's happening between visits, you are the eyes in between visits, and you can do that at home by scooping the litter box for one and paying attention, for example. So now, if you insist on using automatic litter boxes and training your cats to use human toilets, beside potentially, in certain cases, upsetting sad cats, you lose so much potential for early intervention, and you lose so much information, so much insight into your cat's wellness, and you have no visual reference, no trend tracking, no early warnings. Literally, you give up free daily health information. It's like giving up all the early warnings, the bells ringing that make you think there's something wrong and you need to find out what it is. It's like having Amazon deliveries and no bell at the door, and nobody warns you that the parcels are there, and you wake up a week later and they have all been stolen. And we all know how sad and upsetting this would be. Besides, your cat would miss out on so many boxes to play with, but I'm digressing now. So now, of course, reading patterns is a learnable skill, and going beyond the litter box and testing your cat's output is also a learnable skill. And observation and context allows you to beat fear, and this is also something that allows you to have peace of mind, and this is why it's so important to read the litter box and scoop the litter box yourself and pay attention and become present to this daily practice that will tell you so much about your cat's health and wellness. And of course, there are lots of simple tools that you can use even at home to get valuable insights into your cat's health, even at a deeper level. So all before you have to spend time, money on vet visits. And I'm not saying at all that you shouldn't have vet visits when necessary, but your skills as a cat parent can be extremely valuable, and they can save you trips back and forth just to monitor things that you can monitor easily at home for a period of time. And gaining confidence in this department will take away, as I said before, fear and panic and confusion. And from your daily experience as a cat parent who is facing a certain situation and doesn't know what's going on all of a sudden, instead you want to learn the skills, and this is also what we build inside the health support skills for amazing cat parents. And of course, you can learn all these skills by yourself, by informing yourself one bit at a time on different conditions and different things, particularly the things that probably affect your cat in particular. But also, if you are interested in taking a course that takes you there faster and in an easier way, you can check out my course in the description below, which is called, again, Health Support Skills for Amazing Cat Parents. Now, of course, it is completely optional, but if you are interested in following this course, well, the description below has the link that you can click to check it out. And of course, you don't need to be perfect, and you just need to notice the different changes and be present in this daily practice. Your cat already tells you how they're doing, and it is already visible to you when you pay attention. So if you learn to read the litter box, you give your cat time, and time changes outcomes. And if you have urinary issues with your cat, you might want to watch this video appearing on the screen next. And on that note, I will see you next time. And until then, love your cats as much as you can.